You're holding that baby like a rag doll, Mrs. Elshire. If you won't fix it, I will. That's what Isolde Moran, the almighty president of the Monarch Ridge Reserve HOA board, said right before she hauled off and slapped my wife across the arm. Not a warning, not a hey, let me help, a full-on open palm sharp, and sure that jolted my daughter and left my wife Morel frozen mid-rock on the old birch chair. My little girl Anne let out a howl. Morel gasped and Isolde. She stood there looking smug, like she'd just straightened out a crooked flower pot instead of striking a new mother with her hands full. "Consider this a compliance intervention," she said, adjusting her shiny HOA badge. Like that badge gave her the right to lay hands on anybody. That posture could permanently affect spinal development. I was already on my feet before her words even finished echoing, the porch floor creaking under me as I stepped forward, slow, measured, every muscle fighting the urge to act on instinct. "You just assaulted the mother of a medically fragile newborn," I said, flat as stone, "and for your sake, I hope you like being served, because you'll be getting a letter by certified mail." Her smirk flickered. She hadn't noticed the porch camera tucked up under the eaves, hadn't seen the red record light. "Let me tell you, you don't subscribe. Now you're going to miss the moment a woman who thought HOA rules gave her the right to slap a nursing mother meets the real law, and she has no clue who she's up against. Name's Corwin Elshire. I'm a licensed environmental risk compliance officer across 3 states. You build a dam, a pipeline, some fancy neighborhood club, I'm the guy they call to catch what everyone else misses. I've shut down million-dollar developments over 2 inches of crooked concrete. Right now, the violation I just witnessed is clearer than half the sinkholes I've flagged. And Isolde's handprint still glowed pink on my wife's arm. My daughter was pressed to Morel's chest, sobbing, the kind of choppy breaths that tell you the whole world just turned upside down. That birch chair she was feeding in, it's not just some porch decoration. It's the chair my grandfather made by hand the winter my mother died, the one Morel rocks on in every morning under soft light, following a doctor's protocol for our baby's nervous system. That's where our family finds stability, peace. And now my wife was shaking our child, screaming into her shoulder, all because a woman with a clipboard decided community standards meant putting hands on a mother. She failed to correct her positioning. Isolde muttered to the open air. The HOA will be filing an official report on maternal endangerment. I spun the porch cam so she could see herself paused right where her hand connects. This footage is time-stamped and backed up. Section 4.8 of your own bylaws doesn't allow physical contact, not even for pretend enforcement. Isolde blinked hard. "You'll be hearing from the board," she spat. "Good," I said, "so will the Northvale County Prosecutor's office." She didn't know my father, Meriton Elshire, handles felony battery and impersonation charges for this district. She wouldn't know I hadn't called him in months, figured I left city drama behind when we moved here. But when you put your hands on my family, the silence ends. Across the street, my neighbor Edith just stood there, mouth open. She didn't need to say a thing, she'd seen enough. The birch chair creaked behind me like it had an opinion of its own. I reached for Morel's hand, her palm damp, her eyes glued to our baby, both of them trembling. "I'm so sorry," I whispered. Isolde turned on her heels, clicking like a judge's gavel all the way down the stone walk. This wasn't about enforcing a rule. This was about someone weaponizing fake authority, picking on the people she figured would never push back. But she'd picked the wrong porch. Before noon, a violation notice showed up, thick courthouse-grade paper slipped under our doormat, sealed with Monarch Ridge Reserve's gold foil. Morel just stood inside the glass door, arms wrapped tight around Anne, rocking like she could undo the morning. The baby's breath was still shallow, scattered. I opened the envelope with 2 fingers. Notice of community safety intervention. It said resident observed improper infant support posture. HOA president acted within authorized oversight. 4 violation points. 1 more and we'd get fined. The kicker. The form already had the date and time printed. She'd pre-filled it before she even slapped Morel. Morel dropped onto the couch, shirt still damp from tears, baby squirming. "She's going to take this further, isn't she?" she asked. "She thinks she's already won." I told her, folding the paper in half. But that wasn't a warning. That was a confession. I pulled my laptop, queued up the door cam archive 30 seconds before 30, after clear as crystal. I backed it up twice, saved it to my secure cloud, tagged it Incident Strike. Never thought I'd use that label outside of a construction site. Edith across the street was out at her mailbox, stealing glances our way. Around 3, I heard the clubhouse printer 4 houses down, but you could always hear it meant flyers were coming. Half an hour later, Morel, looking pale, said, "There's a bulletin on the board. It's about me." I didn't ask how she knew. In this neighborhood, the clubhouse sits at the heart of everything. You can't walk the loop without passing that board. I took on and let Morel rest, headed over. New flyer, top center, clear plastic, parental diligence matters. In response to recent concerns about infant safety and improper public conduct, blah blah, no names, just poison dressed up as policy. 2 residents were already there. A man with a therapy dog turned away. Fast, a younger mother gave me that, "I'm sorry, but I won't get involved" look. Isolde was winning with shadows, implied danger, safety as a shield. By evening, someone left a second notice on our porch, red paper this time. Community observation repeat flag. Morel stayed in the nursery all night, only the shuffle of her feet and the baby's quiet cries breaking the silence. Next morning, 2 more homes had the same bulletin on their doors. Not the warning, just the flyer. The HOA wasn't just building a case, they were building a narrative. And fear spreads faster than truth. The board meeting was set for 6:30. I showed up 5 minutes early, but the place was half full already. Residents lined up in folding chairs, the lighting overhead buzzing cold and flickering. The board, tribunal style, sat up front, Isolde dead center, nameplate, gleaming gray blazer, button tight, hair pinned, lips pursed. To her right, Tom Vennick, treasurer, stiff posture, knuckles white on his manila folder, eyes never meeting mine. "Meeting will now come to order," Isolde said, tapping her pen. "First item, review of recent enforcement actions. No mention of the slap, not a word about a crying child." She put up a grainy, muted porch cam slide just before contact, the audio muted due to misinformation. "We're clarifying context," she said. I watched Tom. His foot tapped a frantic rhythm. This wasn't punishment, Isolde claimed, just decisive action. I felt the whole room lean into the lie. Tom finally spoke up. "We shouldn't pretend nothing happened," he said, voice tight. "That incident wasn't planned, wasn't on the agenda." Isolde flashed a tight smile. "We've addressed that the footage speaks for itself," Tom whispered. "It's edited. We never voted on those caretaking oversight standards. It was a draft." She purred. "You signed off in the February packet." "I signed a packet," Tom said. "I didn't read every insert." Murmurs rippled. She shut it down. "Let's stay on task." Tom went silent. After the meeting, I waited in the parking lot. Tom was last to leave, shoulders hunched, hand on his car door. "You know she lied up there," I said. "You don't have to protect her. Just stop protecting the lie." He glanced at me, voice cracking. "I don't know what you're talking about." But he did. Next morning, our lawn was a battlefield, yellow flags on the grass flower bed porch steps. Each had a code: unauthorized porch furniture, non-compliant breastfeeding, emotional noise violation. I peeled one off and read it twice. Emotional noise violation. I didn't wake Morel. The 4th flag arrived after lunch, jammed into the soil by a man in a tan HOA windbreaker. The notice threatened a $250 fine if we didn't remove the birch chair in 48 hours. I sat in it anyway, just to remember before all this started, before Isolde, before the flyers, before Morel stopped coming outside. The neighborhood closed in. Flyers posted in windows all facing us, all judging. That afternoon, the HOA claimed Morell had verbally resisted corrective action, threatened to call child services. She didn't cry, didn't get angry, just went quiet. I called Edith. She came over an hour later with a plate of lemon bars and said I saw it. I saw her hit Morell. Will you say that in writing? She hesitated. If I do, they'll come after me too. I handed her a flag. They already are. She left with a copy of the footage, Truth, weighing heavy in her hands. That evening on my walk, I spotted a new clubhouse chalkboard entry, upcoming workshop, infant ergonomics and responsible maternal practice, led by I. Moran. Isolde wasn't enforcing rules, she was building a doctrine, a cult of quiet correctness. If no one stopped her, someone was going to lose their child over this. That night I reviewed the footage again, zoomed in, caught a glimpse of a red folder in Isolde's hand. Caretaking Oversight Draft Q1. I dove into the HOA archive. No mention of such a committee, no vote, nothing in the records. Buried deep on the HOA portal, I found a draft uploaded by Isolde, never ratified, all her language about maternal stubbornness and intervention thresholds. Pure invention. I printed it, took it to Morell. She was rocking Anne in the nursery, humming the song her mother used to sing. The policy she used, it doesn't exist. She made it up. Morell just whispered, so it's just her. That afternoon I called my father, sent him everything. 20 minutes later he replied, impersonation of legal authority. Build your timeline. Don't move the chair. Days blurred together, fines, flags, flyers. The threats escalated. Tom kept his distance, but his eyes said more every time we crossed paths. One evening, as the sun set, Tom showed up, hands stuffed in his jacket, looking beat. They're bluffing, he said. Not for long. He admitted Isolde had invented the committee, never brought it to a vote. Will you say that in writing, I asked. He nodded. I'll bring it tomorrow. He did early folder and hand emails from Isolde, drafts of Cope, his affidavit. She's planning to force a backdated vote, get it retroactively approved. He'd seen enough neglect cases in his medic days to know what real abuse looks like. That wasn't abuse. That was a mother saving her kid's lungs. I compiled every shred of evidence, scanned, organized, secured, ready for court. Sent it to the county ADA, Casey Mora, hand-picked for integrity. Her reply, material received. Civil battery, abuse of authority confirmed. Do not engage with HOA leadership until contacted. But Monarch Ridge doesn't run on paperwork alone. It runs on patterns, witnesses, neighbors. I started building a case, mapping every flyer, every flag, every home that had faced Isolde's care. 6 more residents came forward, stories of shaming, threats, fines. The pattern snapped into focus, always motherhood as the weapon, always community safety as the shield. One mother, Ariel, told me, she makes you feel like you're the broken one. I thanked her. They didn't want promises, they just needed someone to believe them. Tom brought over board minutes, vote tallies, proof that none of this had ever been authorized. Tucked into a set of meeting notes, I found Isolde's own handwriting. Let's move fast. Ratify after. C won't fight back. See me. She'd written me off before I ever stood up. Finally, the next board meeting. I stood in the back, red folder under my arm. Isolde tried to push her retroactive approval through, but Tom stood up. I moved to suspend the session, pending review of a formal complaint submitted to the county. The room shifted. I stepped forward, laid out the evidence, witness statements, emails, her own threats. Edith stood and said I saw her hit Morell. Other neighbors rose, Ariel, Dorian, Rasha. The silence cracked. Someone called for a vote of no confidence. The board folded. Isolde had nothing left. The ADA herself came in, served notice of inquiry, false authority, impersonation, civil battery. Isolde tried to hang on, demanded a closed hearing. "No, ma'am," said the ADA, "you made it public when you posted flyers and struck a mother." No one followed her when she walked out. No one clapped. That silence, the cleanest verdict we could have asked for. A temporary hold was placed on all HOA enforcement. No fines, no citations, no new directives. For the first time, the porch lights came on steady. It rained the next morning, soft quiet. No flags, no threats. The birch chair stood where it always had. Morel joined me barefoot on, bundled up. She sat in the chair and rocked our daughter, just breathing. Normal. Later, a crew came, painted over the chalk lines, took down the last of the flyers. Tom texted, "Special election scheduled." I'm not running. He didn't need to, his legacy was written already. The county pressed charges, Isolde's name suspended from every board. The community started waving again. The chair on our porch became a symbol, not of defiance, but of belonging. One evening, a new family moved in nearby. I read about what happened. The husband said, nodding at the chair, "Is that really the one?" "It still is," I said. When Morel said, "You kept us safe," I didn't correct her. Some things don't need explaining. No HOA, no clipboard, no fake committee gets to dictate what peace looks like on our porch. That always belonged to us, and now it always will. So what about, you ever seen justice finally swing back in a place that forgot what it looked like? Drop your thoughts below. Tell me where you stand on right and wrong, or share your own story if you've been there. Subscribe if you want more. Because trust me, next time's just as wild. Wait till you hear what happened when Karen tried to unclasp my niece's bra strap for community standards and ran headfirst into an FBI agent mom. You won't want to miss it.